Welcome to the Succeed with Software podcast, brought to you by SuiteDash. Today's episode is from one of the bi-weekly Q&A webinars. To participate live, just follow the link in the description to sign up and submit your questions. Be sure that you're subscribed on YouTube and following us on all social media to get the latest videos and updates about new and existing features. All right, so let's get started. Hello and welcome everyone. This is Mike. I'm the founder and CEO of SuiteDash. Thanks for joining us today at the SuiteDash Q&A webinar. All right, so let's get started. Let's get everyone to jump into the chat, if you would, and let me know you can hear my voice. Let me know where you're joining us from. I do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time, so the first one to jump in gets their questions answered. All right, Jennifer. Yes, can hear from Northern Kentucky. Hello, Jennifer. I'm a North Carolina native, and I married a Cincinnati girl. So I think that's pretty close to you. So I am aware of Northern Kentucky. Yep, exactly. Spent a lot of time in Cincinnati over the years. Beautiful town, great little area. Awesome. Okay, hello, Brian from Arizona. Hello, Carmen from Wisconsin. Spent some time there recently. Yeah, very cool. Okay. All right, everyone. Oh, and by the way, Jennifer, my sister went to nursing school at Xavier. So I also have a little bit of extra connection there. Okay, let's get started. I think most of you guys here are existing customers or free trials, and we just want to work through your questions as fast as possible. You are welcome to put questions into the chat anytime you like. That is the function of this webinar, to try to have a place where you can come once or twice a week, depending on our schedule, but usually twice a week at least. If you are VIP, if you have a VIP power up, there are more sessions, live support sessions that are available to you where you can come, jump in, ask your questions, and hopefully get over whatever little challenge you are experiencing. So that's what we're here for. Let's start with Jennifer's questions. I see Jen Williams. Yes. Okay. And Jennifer, is it okay to call you Jen? I'll save a few syllables. Great. And it's okay for me to read questions that you submitted. I think so. That's what we're doing, right? Okay. So Jen's a business owner, and I'm just going to read your question here. She's watched prior meetings. That's good. And curious about how to use Zapier for the following. A new client signs up for our software will need access to some Excel files. I've decided to go to Google Sheets as it may be easier of Zapier to set up automatically duplicate the Google Sheets that I want to place particular folders inside of Google Drive. But the question is there a way to automatically bring that Google Sheet back to SuiteDash and embed it? I'm trying to create a budgeting portal page. So I'd really like to embed these Google Sheets in the portal page so they don't need to leave our portal. Okay, I understand this part. I have a question, but we'll get to let me continue the question. I cannot embed the master copy as everyone be writing over it. Yeah, I understand that. They would need to save their own copies and it would then be housed outside SuiteDash in theory. I'm trying to each client have their own budgeting tools. Okay. Got it. Do you need access to this? If they make a copy, Jen, do you need access to that copy later? Or, okay, so I know you're talking about Google Sheets here, but let's just say that it was an Excel file that you provided for them to make a copy of, and then they kept that locally. I see the Google Sheet. So you can embed a Google Sheet. You can go to levels of complexity beyond that, but it doesn't sound like that what you're trying to accomplish will be in that direction. I think the best thing that you could do as far as this is create, if you have a master copy that you don't want anyone to modify, maybe make a copy of that, embed it, and then allow them to create copies there. for the way Google Sheets works, you can give them access, and then they can make a copy, which then is copied into their own Google account. But whether or not they know that's possible or not, I'm not sure. What might be right. I'd love. Jen says, let me pop the chat up here, and let me just jump into an account here so that we're not just looking at the website. Jen says she would love for them to be able to update the budget piece inside of our portal. A lot of our clients may not be very computer literate. How many clients are we talking about, Jen? With dozens, hundreds, thousands, hundreds? Mm-hmm. Well, there is one way. Yeah, hopefully thousands. There is one way that's not all automated. There is some manual work here. And it consists of, you would embed. Let me just go in this direction for a little while, so at least you know it's possible. And then you can decide whether this is a direction you'd want to follow, or maybe there's something different. So if you start a new page, we can say, and I won't be able to go all the way to the end of this explanation, but I will get right to the beginning of it here. So if we used I think just a text block would be the right thing here. And you want to embed, Google will give you an embed code, right? Or an iframe. You're able to embed it manually. Good. What you can do, though, is also you can use a placeholder for a URL. And I don't have a good working example of this, but we have URL custom fields. Okay, so let's just start there. So in a URL custom field, you can create a custom field of usage, whatever you need, probably company, public, or contact. And then you're going to say URL. Okay, and this will only accept a URL. What you can do is use the iframe functionality and iframe a URL that's specific to each client. So, for example, if you went to Google Sheets and you created an individual sheet for each customer and got the publicly shared URL, you could embed it here using a custom field that would then see which client is logged in when it's viewing the page, and the iframe would adapt to show the specific sheet for that specific client. The bad part about this is it's a cool functionality, but you won't have any automated way to replicate your Google Sheet every time a customer is added. Not with Zapier. I can't see any way that would happen, because that would all have to happen inside your Google account. And then it would have to be somehow associated and signed. What I had Zapier do was duplicate the sheets, then put them in the new folder that it created. I would just like to bring the folder back in, if possible, that had all the sheets in it. Into SuiteDash, you mean? Yeah. And then embed into a portal page. I don't see that as possible, Jennifer. I would love to know how to do that. Not with the current functionality. We of course, everything is possible, but we don't have something that will that closely associate with your Google Sheets account, your Google account. Something similar to Excel directly in SuiteDash. Well, maybe. It depends on how complex. I mean, obviously, we can't build Excel. That would be, but we do have calculating custom fields. So it's possible that you could build, depending on how complex your calculations are, you could build a form that would take all the inputs from the form and put them into formulas. You can reference calculating custom fields can reference other calculating custom fields, which means you can layer calculations. So if you have maybe, some, say 10 calculations or 10 levels of calculations and it's not some giant Excel spreadsheet that, but if you're looking to create a simple calculator, it can definitely work. There's a video that could be helpful to you related to our dynamic invoice items that somewhat does this, but it's not the same thing. You want to look at custom fields, look at calculating custom fields. Again, we're looking in this direction. Calculating here. And then it will show you that you can create math equations using custom field placeholders. Okay, so that means that if you build a formula here, you can output the result of that formula using the placeholder for this custom field, which is derived, the result is derived from the math equation involving other custom fields. And this way you can create a form that on the way in, they're going to complete a form which is related to these custom fields, for example. And then you can output on the next page or the next place that you take them. You can show them a dashboard or a portal page that has the result represented by the placeholder of the calculating custom field. That makes sense? So this is where you want to concentrate and read the documentation about calculating custom fields. So if you're creating a simple calculator or a simple result of math equations that involve other values associated with a custom field value, this will work. You can make something pretty. I mean, I don't know that there's really a level of how deep you could take this. There's that we provide the tools, and then people take them in directions that sometimes we never imagined. So it's pretty cool. At least a start for the easier things. The harder ones, I think I can put a link to a spreadsheet where they can copy. Yep. Okay, good. And then Carmen is jumping in. Thank you, Carmen. I don't know if this helps, but you can change the share link for a Google Sheet from saying edit at the end to copy and enforce. Really, Carmen? Ooh, that's nice. That's a Google hack. There you go, Jennifer. That looks like a really valuable piece of information for you. That's interesting. Yeah, because I recently came across a situation, or I was using a calculator or spreadsheet that someone offered, and that would have been a nice functionality if you could click a link and it says, okay, now make your own copy. Mm-hmm. Well, you can provide that link in the portal, Jennifer, by custom menus or a button block or any kind of linking mechanism on a portal page or a dashboard, and maybe even select open a new tab. So to be a little more clear, let's go back. So say here, for example, you're using a button block. Here's a button block. I don't want to mess that one up because I'm using that one, but so here you can say you can put your URL right here, your modified URL, open a new tab, and then call this whatever you want. Say copy my spreadsheet. And this might work depending on how the tip from Jennifer works, but this might work. And then as soon as you click copy, then they can boom have their own copy, and then you have the question of trying to embed it. But there's a little bit more there. It's interesting. Maybe I'll put it on my list to try to build out something like this in my quote spare time that we can, or assign this to staff members, see if we can replicate something like this with the Google Sheets. Mm-hmm. The only problem with Google Sheets and in all these external data sources is the data is outside of SuiteDash. So the more data you can get input into SuiteDash, the more you can use our calculating fields and then dashboards to return that data to them or display that data to them. I hope that helps. Okay. Good. Well, we got somewhere. All right. So Jen, good. And so I also see, let's try to jump to someone else for a question, and then we can come back. Jen, if you have more questions or you want to extend in another direction, let me know and we'll try to get back to that. Okay. So Carmen, let's try Carmen's question. Carmen says, I'm trying to understand the best way to organize my client onboarding process. I will have them fill out a form and schedule a call with me as a lead. If we are a good fit, I want them to be able to choose from some options, sign a contract, and pay the first invoice. Would a form with a new choices option work better or in correlation with the proposal? Yeah, so let's start with, you're going to start with a kickoff form, Carmen. That's going to be your first place to think. Let me get to another place here. Okay, so kickoff form, you're going to bring them in. You're going to offer them the appointment block. Let me first say here that the lead, you want to bring them in as a lead, but I'm going to suggest that you bring them in as a prospect, and let's discuss the realities about this. So these words, lead, prospect, client, specifically lead and prospect, it's a nomenclature thing, right? I mean, some people will say this is a lead. Some people say this is a prospect. In our world, we've decided to use them in the way that I'm going to describe now. A lead is like a entry in an address book, really, really surface. Like imagine you're driving down the street and you're passing businesses and you want to address these businesses, but right now you don't have any information about them, only the name of the business, say, for example, or some small bits of information. So you put them in your quote address book by adding them into your CRM as a lead. When you add them as a lead, they do not have an account created in the portal. They do not, you don't even really need their email address. You only need a title of a business. So you're making a list and you get home and you type them all in your CRM. You bring them in as leads. This reminds you to follow up with them, but not necessarily means that you have any functionality associated with the portal. Okay. And so then the next level for us is prospect. And this means, okay, they've gone beyond that surface lead category and now they're in prospect mode, which means they can receive optionally. You can invite them into the portal. They can have be sent things like estimates and proposals and all this. So I would say just adjust a little bit on your thinking about what that word means in terms of it's just representative of a concept. In the way that we work, prospect is probably where you want to be thinking. So let's add them as a prospect if that's okay with you, and if that works in your system, I would suggest that probably it will. You're going to create a form. I would say do something very surface in the beginning. But you can add in an advanced block. You can say, we want to add an appointment block. This will allow you to choose from your existing appointment types, meaning you could say, I want them to be able to choose just one appointment type. You'll choose that down here, or multiple appointment types where they could make their choice. And they'll be able to schedule with you and submit that kickoff form. And that will bring them into the system using, these are the only two of the options that I've outlined so far, but you can assign them to circles, which has implications. You can have scheduled automations, all kinds of things. All of these, you can even create a proposal for them, but that's not where you are right now. Just clarifying that there's a lot you can do here. So let's get them into your funnel using a kickoff form, and that will get them their appointment scheduled. So if you're a good fit, this is based on your call, and you want them to be able to choose from some options. This is where it gets a little bit where we're not quite where we plan to be in the future. And one of the things I will say is the proposal functionality. We don't yet have the ability for them to choose from options that dynamically change the proposal, and therefore the accepted and agreed upon amount of the proposal. That is on the way, something we're working towards pretty actively, so that they will be able to see a proposal that has choices that they can say, okay, I want package A or package B or an add-on D. And then the amount, the total of the proposal, the total proposed amount for those selections will be modified in real time right there in front of them, and then they can agree to that proposal. The alternative now would be that you would use the choice block, for example. Either, I'd say kickoff form's not the place. You would do that in the update form after this. So you would make an update form that they would access on a dashboard that they land on after this this step in your funnel. And in that update form, you can use the choice block to define your choices. Let's go into an update form. So here's your choice block, okay? And you can add your choices here. So if you have defined choices, then you can identify those here. And then based on the choice that's made, you can trigger an automation to fire, which would generate a proposal for choice A. So you would have a proposal generator defined for choice A, for example. And that would be selected here if they choose choice A. Then you'll have a different proposal generator. So you'll probably start with one and then duplicate and modify. You'll have a proposal generator called choice B or whatever's related to that choice. So say you have 4 choices, you have 4 individual proposal generators that outline the details associated with that choice. And here in the choice block, you'll have 4 choices, just like this. You'll name them. And in each one of these automations associated with the choice, you'll define proposal generator A, proposal generator B, C, D. And then so based on their choice here, when they submit the form, an appropriate proposal will be generated from that generator, which is basically like a template. And it'll be, you can use data placeholders inside that generator to make it individual and unique for that particular client. If you have it in that kind of, if you have your choices and your packages in that kind of structure, then it will work really well for you in that case. One of the things that's really cool is, and I like to always make sure people realize this possibility is, if you are, say, for example, let's say during your call, Carmen, okay, let's say you create this form, but instead of thinking about it in terms of targeting the client, right, and letting them have access to this, what if you built this form with the idea that you will be completing it yourself while you're on the phone or just after the meeting with the client? And what do I mean by that? What I mean is all of our forms have what we call a staff submit option, which means not your client's not submitting it. You are submitting it on behalf or in reference to the client. So see staff submit here. Let's say that you have your appointment. You develop this form on purpose to say, I'm going to be filling this form out and triggering it during the call. Let's just say that happens. I'm not saying that I'm not 100% this will work for you. But when you start the call, you're going to select the client. And you're going to have this form that's laid out however you need to. I just grabbed one. So the form will have whatever questions you need to have on it, whatever data you need to have, including that choice block that we just talked about. During the phone call, you can take notes. You can make that choice. You can fill out whatever fields that you need. And remember that these fields likely have, you're inserting the data here. You've already developed the proposal generator, right? Let's say you've already built your proposal generator in anticipation of this automation. So you know what the proposal generator looks like. You know what how the form is configured. And as you complete this during the call, you can still be in the call and you can click submit and you will know what will happen. If you have proposal generators configured as automations to this form, when the form is submitted, the automations will be fired against the target that you are on the phone with at that moment. The proposal will be generated and emailed as configured, And imagine a world where you're on the phone with somebody taking notes. Maybe you're taking specific notes about your conversation. You're reviewing with them. So you can say, just to clarify. So what we said is, I'm going to provide this service A, service B, and you're taking notes during the call. All this is outlined and looks nice. And when you submit this data is inserted immediately into this proposal generator. The choice is the amount is defined, and everything is sent to them by email while you're still on the phone with them. This is completely doable, yeah, and completely possible using staff submit. And imagine the shock and how impressed this person on the other end of the phone is going to be when they receive an email while you're still actually in the conversation with them, and the proposal contains verbiage that was discussed in that conversation. You're going to look like a genius. Yeah. And all of this stuff is completely possible. Yeah, staff submit's amazing. Like, so what I always want to make sure people understand it, because how incredible it is. Imagine that you're in an office and you just have a receptionist or any kind of welcome phone. You have phone calls, or even somebody at a front desk. You can use the staff submit functionality to define forms that are not just for clients, but this is for your staff. And the cool thing is, right, these kickoff forms, they have these are static URLs. So they can take this URL and make a bookmark on their browser. And when the phone rings, they just answer and okay, well, sir, give me your first name, last name. Okay, can I get your email address? Tell me how you heard about us. Tell me this, tell me that, whatever it is. This form now guides the phone call, the information, the data gets entered. And when they submit, not just that, but all the automations that were associated with that form are immediately fired, and all the categorization, the automation, the assignments, everything that you can build in a kickoff form that you normally think about as your clients completing, you can build a form specifically intended for your staff to complete and still use all the same automations, which is so cool because, think about that. I mean, somebody answers the phone and they scribble down a few pieces of information. They still have to get a process moving, right? They still have at least 15 minutes worth of work to do, several emails to send. They need to enter that data in somewhere else, maybe, and even the data is siloed in one place, so they have to move it somewhere else. In this way, before the phone is even hung up, you have an entire process started and an automation underway. This is efficiency, and it just takes the idea of pre-building it and understanding it, systems and processes to get it working. Not difficult. We build these tools exactly for this purpose. SuiteDash is not like something not like a typical CRM or a typical anything. It's completely designed from the ground up using these concepts of generators and targets and these sort of generic pieces of automation gear to allow you to build workflows, build processes that are generic and can be used by hundreds and hundreds of clients, but in a way that's unique, can uniquely customize that portal to that particular client based on, your configurations. So, yeah, it's cool stuff. I mean, I always think about what we could have done back in, 10, 15 years ago in an agency, web design agency and a marketing agency with this kind of automation. It's incredible what we could have accomplished with probably half the staff, twice the business, who knows how much the profit, just by streamlining every single process using tools like this. So I think that's kind of on the way with your choice. And when I say contract, when you say contract, I want you to, I don't know if you made the association yet, but what we call documents is the same thing as contracts. It's not just contracts. It can be used to generate any type of document that's dynamic, meaning it's a template combined and merged with data to create certificates, to create data sheets, to create whatever you need. But in general, it's also designed to be able to create contracts that need to be signed. And you use these signature requirement settings here to indicate the signing and who should sign. And then in the contract itself is where you'll define the signature places, the data placeholders. They're all here, right? So you're creating a template that when this is merged with data and other elements, it produces a bespoke, unique contract and then sends it out for signing on the fly in milliseconds. So that's the advantage here as well with documents and contracts. Same thing with invoices. Yeah, and you say something about the invoices. If you go to invoice generators, that's where you want to be. And I will recommend, let's go to our YouTube channel. To learn about invoice generators, and here is a great video on invoice generators. It is 56 minutes long. Sorry, but it's complete. It's 56 minutes worth of complete details. So when you come away from this one, you shouldn't have any questions, and that it's worth the investment in that way. Okay, and all of these, if you look through these are all in the academy, which you have access to as well. So any video you see here is also replicated in a lesson in the SATs, we call them, in SuiteDash Academy. So you should be able to find them all. But there's a lot to learn here for sure, and it's a powerful set of tools. Okay, so again, Carmen, if you have further questions, please continue. Let me know in the chat. We'll continue from there. Staff submit. All right. Yes, ma'am. I see Brian here. Brian. Yep. From Arizona. Hello, Brian. Let's go through Brian's questions. Hey, bud. Okay. Hope you're trying to stay cool down there. All right. I want to see how everything works together. I'm not sure the vision matches what SuiteDash does yet or not. Well, let's find out. And if one of the things we benefit from here, Brian, and reason I like doing these webinars is you guys have great ideas. So very often, every webinar, we come away with value, like a valuable suggestion or direction. So let's see where you're thinking. So you think partner portals to see what they have referred, a list of clients, project phase of clients, overall value of clients, unload literature, assets. Okay. I understand. Okay. Forms, lead form for a partner to submit leads. That can be done. Onboarding form for my team to complete while speaking with the client. Oh, good. So we just talked about staff submit. You mentioned something very, very similar to that. Conditional formatting, yes. There are conditional fields in forms. You can explore that. Let's go back to forms. And then you say info request form for client to complete once we have engaged. That's no problem. Client portal, a client signs our agreement. We would then issue them a client portal. Inside the portal, we can have the above info request form. Yes. Project phase visibility. Yes. Invoice availability. Definitely. Okay. Let's just go here into this kickoff form. Where it's going to get a little more complicated, here's conditional fields. Brian, you want to explore here. So you definitely can show hide and do all the things you need to do as it relates to conditional fields. When we come here, this is a kickoff form, so you can embed this form very easily using this embed code or you can even direct link to these. You can embed them in the portal using this embed placeholder. Okay, and that can be done in dashboards or portal pages, which you'll find here under content, dashboards, portal pages. They need a little, I can't completely explain how they work or the difference between them at the moment, but maybe I can get to it in the end. But these are the primary vehicles for displaying things in the portal. A dashboard, which is when they click dashboard, right? And you can specify which dashboard a client would see or a staff member would see based on their circle or team affiliation, or you can even create singular bespoke dashboards per client. I don't think you want to do that. Typically, we would advise creating them by, here's a dashboard, for example. So this is a dashboard I'm creating for a specific type of client, a podcast guest onboarding client, okay? You'll see here that I've assigned it to a circle that's podcast guest. So instead of creating a specific dashboard for each client, I'm creating a generic dashboard that will display, yes, their first name, but also, for example, the progress of their particular progress through my system, through my onboarding workflow, based on a custom field value here. And this can change. And here's another good example. I have this loaded. Actually, I can do this. Let's see. Here's another example. This is a portal page that is used like somewhat like a dashboard, but built the same way. You see these are all set at 50%, 50%, 50%. They are also populated by a custom field value. And to illustrate, we can show this preview. The preview doesn't know what to show us right now. Why? Because it doesn't know what contact we want to see. So imagine Facebook, right? Facebook says, well, I can't show you what Facebook is until someone logs in, so I know who I'm showing, right? Same thing with your dashboard. Your dashboard will react in a dynamic way to whichever one of your CRM targets, companies, contacts, or whatever are logged in. So in this case, let's just preview as, say, Buzz Cola. And we'll get a unique profile photo, first and last name, the company name, and any progress that's here. This one has this particular company has 0 progress in all these places, but let's go to, say, this one. Now I'm previewing as a different client. See, I have completely different values and so on. So this is how we suggest building your dashboards and interactive elements like this. And we provide you with these dynamic tools to make that possible. And that's what we're trying to encourage here. So in your case, you'll build a dashboard for a specific type of client is what you want to focus on. Okay, so that's how dashboards are assigned by this priority system, meaning the lowest priority is a role-based system, medium priority is circle or team assignment, and highest priority is an individual assignment. And that will affect what happens when they click the native dashboard menu, right? But you can also create an entire spectrum of other pages in a portal using portal pages and create menu items for them. You can create custom menus for anyone in your portal so that everyone sees a different menu. I'm a super admin here, so of course I see everything. But if I were to, let's look at the possibility of being in another. Yeah, so here's a client login that has access to these menu items, but you can even hide any one of these or show any one of these. It's all optional, and there's tools built to help you do that by circle affiliation typically. Okay, so let me get back to what you're trying to accomplish, and I think the form thing is pretty easy. The kickoff form, you can create a kickoff form for your partners to submit leads. That's easy. But one of the things that's difficult, yes. X field is yes, Brian. Let me go back to the conditional. Where was I on forms? Here. Conditional logic. See? Yep. So if you can say if this one is equals, or you, in your case, if you want to say is complete, you just want to say if any value is there. Is that right? Then I think you say is not equals to blank. Let's try that. I'm not sure I have the perfect answer to that, but I think this is correct. I think this does work. If not, send in a request to help@SuiteDash.com. We'll make sure that we solve this. So you just want to show if any value is there at all, not if it matches some specific value. Yeah, I get that. Okay. So creating a form that your leads or that your partners fill out and refer you is just nothing more than a kickoff form that you can create a link here. And it can be a direct link like this, or you can even make it a very nice, we call it referral link, for example, referral. And then click create. See, so now you have a nice URL with whatever you want to call it as far as the friendly URL. And you can copy this and give this. And then the form would be here. I didn't save the form. That's why it's like this. But you'll create a specific form. And then they just come and enter the first name, last name, email address, and whatever other fields you want to collect of the lead. You can call, again, reference the earlier conversation about lead and prospect, and see how that might fit into your world based on the ways that we interpret those terms. And there's no right or wrong. Just somebody's got to decide how to use them in whatever process. And then you can they can submit those forms. And those forms can be customized with logos, and you can make it really nice using the tools that are available. But I think where you're going to find a challenge in the sense of all the things you're talking about here, onboarding forms for my team to complete while speaking with the client, we just showed that using staff submit. Info request form for a client to complete once we've engaged. That's, again, can be a kickoff or an update form, depending, or it could just be a general form, depending on if you want to store that data in their profile or not. A general form in our world is a form that doesn't really store data in the profile, meaning if you go to a contacts or a company's CRM dashboard, if you create forms out of custom fields, which is a typical way to do that when you want to store the data in their profile, you will always have that data associated with that specific client in this way. Each one of these is a custom field. The data was collected by a form, right? And now you have data placeholders that you can use in things like contracts, documents, portal pages, dashboards. You can return this note. You can use these values to power charts, et cetera, et cetera. General forms allow you to create forms that don't have that kind of implication. Just the results get emailed to you. If that's all you need, you could use a general form. And then I'm still reading your question again. Sorry. Request form complete, project phase liability invoice. Yeah. And then, of course, invoices. Reference the invoice generator video that I just showed on YouTube. I think it's a good place to start there to understand our invoicing system and the way it can be automated. And you can build processes around the way those invoices are created and delivered. But yes, on the client side, they can pay those invoices online. They can print them out. They can see their receipts. They can do all the things that you probably are thinking of. But I'm sorry, I keep trying to circle back to this part about your partners. I say you have a partner portal and a client portal in your mind. So your partners are the ones that are referring business to you. Yes. And I'm assuming that is for some sort of compensation. Yes. Okay. This is something we don't have built natively into the platform in this way. Um, the SuiteDash is really built around like a two-layer or two-sided business relationship between your company, you and your staff, and your clients, people that you serve and that pay you. The third side of a business sometimes is this referral or collaborator type of relationship, which is not built natively into our system in the way that we have individual logins for that side, built-in math around invoicing, etc. There are some ways to approach this. I would suggest to research, and again, I can't in this time frame go through all the sides of this and build out a working example, but I would go through the exercise of trying to bring your partners in as a salesperson. Okay. So what this can do is we have a functionality that will allow you to, based on the payment of an invoice, use a calculating custom field to reference the salesperson and the amount of the payment and do a math equation that would multiply the amount of the payment times whatever 0.25, if say 25%, and keep that resulting value in as the value of the custom field, the calculating custom field. So let me just quickly show what that might look like. I'm going to go here just to get to it quickly, but you would do it from an invoice. Actually, I think I do have to do it from the invoice. Yeah. And what that can do, Brian, is it can keep an informal, let's say informal, a basic accounting of the amount of business sent to you by that particular salesperson if they are assigned as a salesperson for a client. So in all of our functionality on the way in, you have the capability of setting a salesperson. And you could do that. You could use that to represent the relationship to these consultants, to these partners. Brian says, can I create a sales team for a partner and then have sales contacts, or visit just is it just sales person in general? It's just salesperson. So each client will have an assigned or associated salesperson. If they're not assigned a salesperson, then any salesperson can claim them. So it's built around, our salesperson functionality is built around a in-house sales team. So it might not be a perfect application, but if we go here, let's go to a draft here. Edit. So here's the automation. Okay. So automation is built in the system, and you'll find these what we call automation opportunities everywhere. And this opens our automation suite. So these automations will be fired when this invoice is paid. Okay. So let's look here. So now you can configure any number of automations to be fired when this invoice is paid. Specifically in this case, custom field. We're going to set a custom field value, and we're going to choose a number. Got to be a number. Yep. Okay, so here, when I say number, it's got to be a number type custom field. It can't be a URL custom field or just a single line. It's got to be specifically a number type custom field, because it's keeping these numbers and it's housing these equations. And you'll read here about how this is worked, the custom field math works. And then specifically for estimates and invoices, you can reference custom field that will use the invoice payment, you can insert this into the math equation. And for this, you can use what we call, we can use, let me keep scrolling, looking for staff custom field, salesperson here. Okay. So see where it says salesperson? So you can select the salesperson, and in this case, it's not, we want to use a number type custom field for staff. And in this way, you're saying, okay, I want you to add this. I want to take the value of this equation that's in this custom field math and write it to the value, write it to that custom field for the salesperson of the target of this automation. So when the customer checks out, we're going to look at who is their salesperson, and we're going to run this math equation and put the value into the associated custom field for the salesperson. And this way you can track it. Then you can create, like, you could even create salesperson dashboards so that when that salesperson logs in, they could see a dashboard that would show them the value of that custom field, so they could see all the time what their current value is. So you could go pretty far with this. In fact, we made this, just so you understand, we made this in response to Mitchell, who's not here today, but maybe 4 or 5 webinars back, 6, something like that. This was an exact, we built this in response to exact request along these lines. He was trying to do a very, very similar thing. And so this custom field math is the closest thing that we could get to in the short term without building bespoke functionality, which may or may not make everyone happy. So this is a good compromise in the short term. This needs an explanation video to walk through all of it. I understand it's not going to be immediately obvious to everyone that this is how this is going to work, but it does work, and it is a workaround that you can consider. Does it almost make sense, or pretty close to thinking about it? Yes. Well, you say, I think I can make it work for my partners by assigning a person as the sales rep. Yes. And then custom field who refers. I don't know that. I don't understand that part. Because the custom field who refers would be the sales rep. So if they have 5 people referring, so you have 5 people that work at a company and one person logs in. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was going to ask. That might complicate things a little bit. In my example, it might be a lot cleaner as far as tracking who. So let me ask you this. If all 5 of those people make referrals, is it one check that gets written? Or do each of those 5 people get an individual check? One check? Well, then maybe it can work. Yeah. So if you're just trying to track one amount and it doesn't matter which of the 5 people referred and you just want to know for your purposes, then yes, it can work. So the way you could do that to get started is, let me just try to draw one more little association here to help you. So you'll create a kickoff form, this referral form that we're talking about now that you want to submit. How many of these partners do you have? Dozen? 20? That's right. Okay. I would really consider creating a unique kickoff form for each of them. I would start with one, make it perfect, as close as you can get, and then duplicate it is no number of times you need, and then provide them each with their own unique link. Okay. That would be the cleanest way to do this. Give each one of them their own unique link, their own unique kickoff form. And then in this way, you can bring them in, bring their referrals in whatever role that you decide. But here's the key: assigned a salesperson. And this is where you're going to say, everyone that comes through this form, I'm going to assign to that salesperson. And this is your connection to them. Okay. And then you can, yes, up here, you can create a custom field to track which person in their organization was the actual referral. And that person will be the person completing this form and can fill that in. But this is all behind the scenes programming that you're doing on your side to control how people are entering your CRM, entering your portal, what workflow they're being kicked off into. You'll program all this. The person on the other side is only going to see the form itself and the submit button. But behind the scenes, you're going to control how everything is assigned and automated when that person is added. So this would be my choice to do it, to go this direction. And then I think you can put together the pieces after that once you have and also this will give you a way in case there's a specific partner who's doing business slightly different than another one, or there's something you need to change a little bit for them doesn't necessarily apply. You get more flexibility with this. And the downside is if something in your process changes materially that you need to adjust in 25 forms, then you have a little bit of work on your hands. But it also, the flip side of that is it gives you the flexibility to modify the process uniquely for one partner without affecting all the others. There you go. Just make it perfect. That's all. It's not that hard. Yeah. What I say here is our standard is approaching perfection. If we can get that, that's pretty good. We're trying, but we also realize, there's more to life than obsessing about perfection. We can get there. Yes, Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer. Jennifer says she can ask a quick question regarding what you just went over. Does the client lead prospect see the term salesperson? They do not, Jennifer. They don't. This is internal to you only. Mm-hmm. And on that note, this is a nice little segue note, just to understand. If you don't want to call him salesperson, Brian, sorry, let's talk about translation. Our goal with SuiteDash is to provide a product that enables small, medium businesses around the world to access these really powerful tools for automation, systems, processes. So yes, you may think about translations just in terms of providing these languages and working in these countries, excuse me. However, it's not necessarily just for that. If you want to rename salesperson to something different like partner, just go here and you say salesperson. And then click hide empty groups. And everywhere that says salesperson, you just change it to partner. And keep going. Click save group and go to this one and change this one to the verbiage that you want to see, and so on. You can change every label, every word in the platform to match how you talk in your business and how your partners and clients understand the language as you say. So all of this can be modified from English to English, just changing terminologies. Okay. So we have a lot of attorneys, for example, who are renamed projects everywhere to something like matters or cases, right? A lot of renaming going on in the portal, and that's the power of the reason we built translation in this way, so that it's not just machine translation to some other language or a closed translation system that just replaces the phrases as we have them with phrases in another language. You can actually change all the language in the whole platform on your own without any permission, or it's completely flexible in that way. Okay. Okay, before I run, I want to see. Oh, okay. Wick is here. Where are you joining us from, Wick? I see your email address, so I know it's probably South Africa, if I am not missing my guess here. Okay. If you're still here, let's read Wick's question and see if we can get an answer. Looks like an interesting question. Can we integrate AI? And how can we use it in this SuiteDash software? How can I set up help desk within my branded platform using custom menu, maybe forms, project, and tasks? Well, if you can hold on just a couple more weeks, Wick, support tickets will be released and you won't have to worry about hacking that. And in fact, if you notice in my menu here, there is a menu item. There's something behind that. We won't look at it today, but it's there and it's being final tested now. So wait just a bit on the help desk. Can you go into more detail how to use and set up of interactive charts data where you can have stats on business activities within the platform? Charts showing how many new clients for a period, values of invoice for the month, inquiries. That's more along the reporting side, Wick, and we don't have at the moment. We're still building out the data side and the toolkit side, but reporting is something we've been pushing away for some time now. So I think what you're looking for is reporting, and it's something that we will be addressing in the next few quarters. So again, hang on for that one. And is the reseller dashboard in working order? Yes. I'm not able to see anything documents in the portal links that were sent to me and get no reply. I'm not sure what that. So reseller dashboard looks like this, Wick. Reseller dashboard. And if you are approved as a reseller, then you will receive access to a reseller dashboard in which you can create your own customers in this way. I will make sure it is the email address that you submitted here, the one that you're submitting support tickets from. I will pass all this I'll pass your last question to the help team to make sure that you're getting an answer there. But the first question, how can we integrate AI and how can we use it in SuiteDash? I think AI is at this point, of course, it's incredible. Of course, it's next level. But beyond generating text for you and writing documents for you and generating ideas, things like that, in our software, there's not really a good use case yet for AI in the sense, other than possibly in support tickets. And that's something we have planned in the future. But it's difficult to direct something like AI in a platform like SuiteDash because of the nature that it's a generic platform meant to serve multiple business niches, and therefore we can't really anticipate how you may use this collection of tools. The best case I can think of is generating content that you might be writing it, like you say, in a mail, in an email, or in a document of some kind. It's very good at that, expanding ideas into bigger paragraphs and providing samples of things like that. Yeah. Good. I'm glad you found it for iframes. And Brian says, one more question. A lot of custom fields to create. Can I upload them via Excel or CSV? So let's go to custom fields here, Brian. There's not a way to import custom fields. And the reason is that there's just so many different use cases that we have that are very custom. So after you create them, you can populate them, yes, but you'll need to create them here. And then the best thing to do from that standpoint is once they're created, is go to your list of contacts or companies or whichever one you're focused on as far as that goes, and do an export. So we're going to download a CSV now, And what that will do is give you a perfect CSV of the custom fields and default fields that you have in the system. You can use that as a starter, and then you can populate. Then you can use that CSV to bring back in all of your, say, contacts and populate those custom fields with the appropriate data for each contact or company. I hope that helps. But I think you wanted, just to be clear, you want to create all the custom fields initially by some upload. That may be something we were able to, well, I don't know how lazy it would be. By the time you properly understood all the elements, all the customization possibilities that are there, and properly built those into the CSV, did the appropriate testing that you should always do by an import, always start with 1 row, then go to 3 rows, then go to 5 rows, and don't be zealous and do 1,000 rows on the first try. That's my disclaimer that I always include when someone's discussing imports, because big failed imports are difficult to clean up. Yeah. So you want to make, so by the time you jump through all those hoops and ramped up to that final big import, I almost feel like you would have, depending on the number, of course, you could probably build them one at a time and learn along the way. But yeah, I'm all about no reason not to find the easiest way if there is one. I think in general, though, we've avoided building an import like that for the complexity reasons that it almost, there's not a lot of people out there that have the data that well formed in their head that they can confidently throw 1,000 records at the system and get it right. So that's it. That's the answer. Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. Hope you found some useful information here, found some benefit. You're welcome to come back as many times as you'd like. Any webinar is open to you. Bring your questions, and we'll do our best to work through them and try to find some solutions or at least a direction for you. Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, too. Thanks, everyone else. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye. Thank you, Wick.